Hi everybody, I'm Logan Phillips, and today's instructional video is going to be called Classroom 3.0, creating an open and accessible classroom and moving your classrooms into that modern age of open, without boundaries, without borders, that engages everybody, even the people outside of your particular classroom. Now before I begin, I really want to show you and start training you on a very simple software. This is called Poll Everywhere. It's a plugin that goes into my PowerPoint slides, allows me to do things like take attendance, do short quizzes. So I encourage you to use your cell phones, use your computer. You would first text to 37607 and then text the word Logan Phillip 841. That joins you to my class. Now after you've typed that, then text over to your name and it will add to the slide who is here and allow me to get an understanding of who's in attendance, who's watching our video. Now if you're watching this as a pre-recorded video, this survey is closed because I've already closed the class, and so you won't be able to add into it at this point in time. Now, I'm going to, typically when I do these type of classes, I need a single volunteer. This volunteer is someone that is going to log into the YouTube channel and keep the comments on their particular computer. If someone is going to ask something on the YouTube chat, it is your responsibility to announce to me that you are watching and someone has asked a question so I can respond. I do this so that I don't have to be watching a chat program while I'm teaching, and it gives a little bit of responsibility to my students. My YouTube live channel is www.youtube.com/user/perchedparrot/live. I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan, and so of course Perched Parrot is my username. Now, you may be asking who I am, why I'm up here and I'm able to teach you these type of things. Well, my name is Logan Phillips, and I really have this idea that we can do a lot better for our students and engage them in the realms that they are wanting to be engaged in, which will increase their knowledge and increase our effectiveness. Now, currently, I am teaching in the Business and Information Technology division, or school, sorry, we're no longer divisions. I teach computer concepts, Microsoft Word, Office suites, those type of basic computers. Before that, I was an IT director at the Tulsa Boys Home. I was a satellite specialist for the U.S. Army. I've taught in Taiwan. I've taught all over the place. Taught at Meridian Technology Center. So I have a very varied background. Now, I can always be reached in any of my social media accounts, pretty much if they exist. I am a member of it. My YouTube channel, of course, is Perched Parrot. My Facebook is Logan_Phillips127. My Twitter account is @LoganTulsa. I encourage you, if you've watched this video, to tweet out to me and let me know that you watched it. And if you want to connect to me on a more professional level, you can get me at Logan-Phillips-612-679-55, which is my LinkedIn account. And as instructors, if you're curious of what my Rate My Professor is or what my students think of my instructional methods, you can always go over to my Rate My Professor. There's a QR code that will take you directly over to it. The QR code is also on the handout that I'll show you how to get to at the end of this lesson. Or you can give me a call at 918-595-7451 or come over to the Northeast campus at Tulsa Community College. I'm in room 2110. Now, we have all, as instructors, been inundated with buzzwords our entire academic careers. From pathways and assessments to Bloom's, student-centered, differentiated instruction, individual learning styles, integration of technology, and cooperative learning. Every year, every month, there's a new theory or idea that is spouted that will revolutionize the way we teach and change the game for the better, or at least that's what we're told. And as the educators we are, we jump into it. We embrace the changes and we try to do the best possible for our students. I like to call this failing forward. Now we try out this new tech, we try out the new method, we try out a new style. It doesn't work, but we are able to take a few pieces of that and make our own teaching a little bit better. Our students are able to learn better because of our failures, which is why we're making forward progress, why we're failing forward. Now, educators always should be trying to fail forward. We're always evolving and always trying to better ourselves. So today I'm going to give you a few new ideas that you can help fail in the right direction with. Now, as always, I give a disclaimer that my methods and my madness might work for your subject. It might not. It might work for your personality. It might not. But as you're sitting here, I assume that you are at least interested in what I have to say about this particular pathway. And I will try my hardest to give you some new tools, some new methods, and some reasoning behind it. But before we begin, I want to ask a very big question. How technology integrated are you in your class? Now, if you look at the top right corner, there's a little video I called a snackable. This woman is named Shauna Miller. She is of the Bahamas, and she won the 400-meter gold. Now, technically, as a runner, she jumped at the last second and threw herself across the starting line, or the finishing line, which won her the event. So as far as running goes, she failed as a runner, but did really well as a jumper, but it actually won her the race. So she failed in the right direction. She failed forward, getting her that gold medal. So how technology integrated are you? And now, most people say that, it's in there, I'm a part of it, I'm integrated, I have a social media account, I may or may not check it all the time. And a very few of you guys are probably saying, oh, I'm basically artificial intelligence. I don't even know why I'm watching this video. Either way is okay. If you have no social contact, if you have no computer integration in your class and you're just that traditional lecturer, or if you're teaching 100% online with no interaction to the students that doesn't go through a computer simulation, both are fine. I always ask these type of questions to gauge an understanding of what my audience is, and this Poll Everywhere account allows me to do that. So I know where I'm going to take my lecture. A quick video or a quick question at the beginning allows me to set the pacing and set the level of conversation about it. So for this particular quiz or survey, I know that pretty much everybody has some social media and has some understanding of what social media is in classroom integration. So I can really start focusing on some of the bits and bolts of this stuff instead of just the overall theory and trying to get people motivated to integrate this. Now, there has been a shifting role of educators, and despite all the hoopla over gadgets and new software, the future of education really hinges on the shifting role of the teacher and the student. Now, the main shift is away from what I like to call the teacher in the classroom centric model. Now, instead, students will learn at their own pace using software that adapts to their strengths and weaknesses. Now, in other words, we're going to be aided by emerging technologies. The teacher-student relationship and the classroom itself will be remade. That is the coming education revolution. That is the starting here with this idea of the classroom 3.0. Instead of just lecturing at the front of a classroom, a teacher would monitor students' progress and assist those who are struggling on a one-on-one or ad hoc basis. Now, a teacher will ideally, in this model, be very free to let advanced students do their own thing and pay more attention to those students who are struggling or need a little bit more help. A true one-on-one connection can come from this, and it allows them to learn at their own pace, in their own location, and just in time for the task at hand. So I'm going to play a quick game with you guys. It's a really simple game, and all you need to do is just think out loud because you're watching this as a video, and I want you to decide what decade do you think I'm showing you. I'm going to show you a picture, and you're going to say it's the 2020s, the 10s, we're 2010s right now, I think, the 2000s, the 1980s, 1960s, so forth. So let's play a quick game. It's pretty simple. So very first picture. What age range do you think this picture is from? We have a mixed age class. We have male and female. We have an instructor with the microphone up the very front that has no wires. We have what looks like maybe a smart board, maybe chalkboards, but definitely, at the very least, they're whiteboards. Up front, we have a little bit of technology integration. I'm seeing students with tech setting out. So what age range? If you guessed 2016, this picture is a modern time frame. This is a modern classroom picture taken this year. So this is our modern classroom. How about here? We have an African-American man teaching a class of mixed women and men. I know this is a middle school model. We have a whiteboard in the background. I'm seeing laptops a little bit here and there, but I don't see really new technology like smart boards, those type of items here. Excuse me. Well, if you guessed 2000s, this picture was taken in the early 2000s. All right. All right, we got the golds. We got some ambers and some golds. We got the school marm up front and those nice plaids. We have a chalkboard instead of whiteboard, so we're at chalk age. But I still see on the right-hand side there some technology. It might be a screen, a projector. It might be a TV. I can't really tell there. Now, I'm not seeing any laptops or desktops or anything like that. What age do you think this picture is from? If you guess the 1980s, this is the early 1980s classroom. All right. We have a TV up front, but it's a pretty big, bulky TV, and it looks like it has a dial on it. Now, the kids are all facing the TV, but it looks like they just twisted their chairs, and they're supposed to be facing the forward normally. We got chalkboard, we got black and white. What age range do you think this video or picture is from? If you guessed the 1960s, you are correct. This is straight out of the 1960s and the revolution of the TV in the classroom. All right, we're getting a little bit older here. So we got wood desk. We still have a mix of male and female students in there, but we're not seeing any technology. We can't see the front of the classroom, but we can pretty much see that it's probably going to be chalk. Probably it looks like they were writing with paper and books, but I don't see a whole lot of anything special here. So what do we model, or what year are we seeing this? If you guess the 1920s, this picture is from the early 1920s. All right, we got a pretty small classroom. Looks like it's set up inside the maybe a single building school or single room school. We have only male students to a female teacher. We have a chalkboard, and it looks like they're writing with slates. Those aren't tablet computers. Those are chalk slates. In fact, you can see that she has a whole stack of them on her desk. And we have heating and light by lamp and a wood furnace there in the background. What age range do you think this computer is? Or this picture is? If you guess the 1890s, you are correct. All right, last one. All right, we have an all-female student body with a male teacher. We have students writing with what looks like quill. It's on paper, quill and ink. I can see from the lady here in the middle, she's handwriting there. We still have no technology, and it's a pretty old picture. If you guessed the 1850s, you are correct. This is the oldest picture that I could find of a classroom. So I got to ask you something. What do you notice about all of these pictures? What's the repeating thing that happens there all the time? In every picture from the 1850s up to the 2016s, what is the repeating, what do you notice? If we have some ideas here that it's passive learning, that there are students and one teacher, that we have a sage on the stage model, the teacher's up front. Well, if you guessed that, or if you thought that, that is the same thing that's across all the photos. Since the 1850s, we have little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes all the same. Rows, centers, teacher up front, teacher on the stage, with a little bit of technology integration. Now, what we have here, with small modifications as we process through the years, is 166 years of using the same industrialized education model that preps students for work in factories. Now, these factories no longer exist, but we're still using the same model. 166 years of following the educational principles that founded the theories of John Dewey, who was actually born in 1859. John Dewey would have been participant in that earliest form of classroom I showed you. He would have been in the straight lines. Now, to give you an understanding how ridiculous following this old model of education is, I want to share with you what's going on 166 years ago. Now, with the understanding that this model doesn't just go back 166 years, that's just the oldest picture I could find. It actually goes back several thousand years. Now, to give you an understanding about 166 years ago, the model that most teachers are still using today, Harriet Tubman was running the Underground Railroad. Joseph Swan, you guys may have heard of him, was working on a pretty cool invention that might have changed things. He was working on inventing the light bulb. The Compromise of 1850 was drafted, seeking help us keep out of the Civil War. California was admitted as the 31st state. and the original Texas boundaries were set. So these were the things that were going on 166 years ago when this model was really put into practice on a heavy scale. When teachers came together and said, this is the model that we use, and it has not really changed since California became a state, since Harriet Tubman was doing the Underground Railroad. We haven't modified in 166 years. Now, we have thrown stuff at it, and we said, oh, let's change from a quill to ink. Let's change from ink to chalk. Let's change from chalk to whiteboard. Let's change whiteboard to a tablet. We've modified it, but it's still the same exact model. So that's 166 years. 166 years of the same industrialized model. Now, the days of the classroom where a teacher's desk sits at the front of the classroom and the students' desks are neatly aligned in rows, it needs to be over. Learning technologies and changing pedagogical methods are not only changing the way we teach, but also the physical environments in which we're teaching in. Now, the role that physical environments play in our learning is just beginning to be studied. There's not been a whole lot of it going on at this point. People haven't been really engaged in this idea of how the environment makes us learn. So there has been little research on the physical environment plays in this learning process. But more and more theorists and educational psychologists are beginning to offer perspectives from which designers can then start to conceptualize the creation of an optimal learning environment. Now, one thing is clear from the research of physical spaces, which makes up learning environments. It is that the current classroom seldom facilitates 21st century learning. We are teaching them the same way, but they're not learning from it the same way. And of course, teachers have complained about every type of modification that has ever happened across the board. It has been a big hoopla, and teachers do not like modifications. Teachers at a conference in 1703 complained that students depended on slates and could not prepare bark to calculate their problems in notches. In 1929, a teacher blamed students for using store-bought ink and not knowing how to make their own. And in 1959, a teacher said ballpoint pens will be the ruin of education because they're so wasteful, and Americans would never be so wasteful with their materials. Of course, that has greatly changed. Now, teachers have been fighting change from the very beginning of teaching. We adopt the new methods, we try out the new methods, but we do it dragging our feet a lot of the time for these bigger ideas, these bigger major modifications and evolutions. I like to think that Socrates even sat around drinking his hemlock from his cup, complaining about his students and administration and teaching conditions as he slipped out of consciousness. But the key to all these complaints, no matter what the teachers have complained about all the years, is that none of these methods are really disruptive. Does it really change anything if you're still doing the teacher-centric model as students writing on paper, on bark, on a slate, on a whiteboard, or on a tablet? The material's the same. The method is the same. These aren't disruptive technologies that have came into our class. That's going to change. And as an educator and education system, we have to choose. We are either going to offer up what the population wants and what the technology can deliver, or we are going to die off much like an antique dinosaur that doesn't function in that hyper-connected society. So we are even moving away in this new method, the Classroom 3.0, from the student-centered and going into a device-centered environment. So the idea that I can't be the sage on the stage and we're going to be focusing on the students are both sort of outdated. What you're going to be focusing on now is the device, how you're delivering the material, and how many people are accessing it in ways that is beneficial to them. So we're moving away from that student-centered, teacher-centered into a device-centered environment. Now, before designing Classroom 3.0, one must really understand the evolution of a classroom. A traditional classroom is a physical room with tables and chairs in a confined area with a blackboard or a marker board, perhaps even a projector of some form. Now, the second generation of Classroom 2.0, excuse me, I got a little bit of hiccups, is that traditional classroom with technologies incorporated. sorry, let me get back here. I have lost my train of thought here. I clicked the wrong button. Um, so the Classroom 2.0 is that classroom that incorporates technologies, and it may have a computer connected to it, to the internet. It has an instructor which teaches using PowerPoint or some other presentation method. This is the start of those smart classrooms where students can have access to their course materials in their own time, using their own internet and their own devices. This next generation, this one that's coming out now, is the generation of Classroom 3.0. And we'll have neither physical walls, we're not going to have furniture like Classroom 2.0 or 1.0, and we will be powered by mobile devices. Some would call this the M-learning environment or mobile learning. So 3.0 is really defined as a borderless classroom, but also the course contents on the classroom lectures can easily be accessed anytime and anywhere virtually. So without borders and without restrictions is that new classroom model. So here's Classroom 1.0. We all know this classroom. It's known as the back to basics, the conventional education or customary education. It is a long established custom that society has traditionally used in our classroom. It's still in use, I would say, in majority of classrooms around the globe today. Now, we all know this form as is what we were taught with as students. If you grew up before, the mid-90s, you were taught with a traditional model. Now, at the basis, it is the most direct way to get your knowledge and give it to somebody else. There are students who learn exceptionally well with this model. I learn exceptionally well with this model. I like a lecturer, so it gives me knowledge and leaves me alone to explore. Now, it still has a purpose in today's society, but not exactly as you would think. This is the model that has dominated us for not just the last 166 years, but the last about 3,000 years. Now, Classroom 2.0, nowadays we have the Web 2.0. Applications such as wikis, blogs, online forums, content repositories, and they've been widely adopted to support learning in higher education. We have been told for years that the lecturer is dead, dying, or needs to be shot. That all students learn in a specific way, a learning type, and that we need to teach each of those individual ways to those individual students without, specializing our instruction to each individual person. Now, as instructors, we have started to integrate this technology to help those learning types. Unfortunately, these tools still remain an add-on for the traditional education, and we are quite far from having a computer revolution in the education field. It's something that can definitely alter the way of teaching in the schools, and it is coming. But we only still just sort of overlaying this technology into the things we're already doing. So, the Web 2.0 really changed the way people communicate and learn. And it entered us into that millennial classroom and evolved the traditional classroom, or is evolving the traditional classroom into a Classroom 3.0, which incorporates mobile technology and Web 2.0 technology. Now, according to Jeff Bordone, Classroom 3.0 entails a confluence of neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and educational technology, using web-based digital and mobile technologies, including apps, hardware, software, and anything else with an E in front of it. Instead of viewing digital technologies as a competitor to our current models, 3.0 really means actively embracing new technologies to see how they can help students learn effectively. Excuse me. Now, in the 3.0, we still have the centered environment that we so love in our modern education. In our 3.0 model, we still have that student-centered environment that we love in our modern education. But with new technologies, we get to start expanding and growing a whole lot more robust. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring back that traditional lecture that was lost. And we're going to then open up the knowledge outside of our classroom. Then we're going to connect our students to our classes using live feeds or digital technologies. Then after we've connected to them, we're going to go ahead and connect them to each other so that they can discuss, integrate, and talk even from people that are inside and outside the classroom. And then finally, we're going to connect them to the larger world and let the larger world connect to them. Because that hyper connected classroom, that larger world, has a lot more information than even we have. So the Classroom 3.0 is not just about the physical space. It's about opening the borders and touching the kids inside, outside your classroom, and students that aren't even actually enrolled. Now, this is the hyper-connected classroom that is 3.0, a classroom that provides for all learning methods and allows students to set goals, provides more hands-on learning, and more real-world training by actively engaging the world. Now, beyond mass education to mass, we're going to be going beyond mass education to mass customized education through a lot of blended learning environments, using flexibility and technology to help students of varying backgrounds and skills and locations. Now, we all signed up to be teachers because we want to teach. We want to share our knowledge and to make the world better. It is time for us to stop limiting our knowledge to just those in our physical classrooms. You know, the person that's in India that has more knowledge about me than me about my Excel class should be able to share it with my students, just like I should be able to comment and share my information with them. I know this takes away from the ideas of paying for, tuition and those items, but there's a place for both. In the Classroom 3.0, knowledge should be freely given. Credits and degrees should be paid for. So though I'm going to allow you to come into my classroom and I'm going to allow you to learn on your time if you want to learn, you're not going to get credit for it. You're just going to be able to expand yourself, which is the whole point. Everyone's growing up together and expanding as one big home. So I'm going to ask, what is your classroom model? Are you a traditional lecturer? Are you a guide on the side that's really focused on student-centered? Or are you a sort of a mix of both, that you're doing traditional methods, but you're also doing student-centered activities inside your classroom? Now, for the average teacher, especially in modern times, or professor, they're really going to be pretty much a mix of both. But we're really going to shift that into the next hyperdrive or hyper level, because we're going into a technology explosion. And technology is accelerating and modernizing. Modernization and expansion of the higher education system is desperately needed. Our higher education system is still very much stuck in the Middle Ages of technology. Our current university system has not changed significantly in over 1,000 years, and we are outdated in our methods, but we can change that. Now, this is a quick video made in 2012, so it's already pretty much outdated, that shows some of the statistics of technology and the exponential growth of our time. means is that we are needing to move away from some of our models, and we need to move onwards to the new tech. Now, one of the things I've always hated about professional development opportunities is the use of big ideas, theories, and no nitty-gritty. There's no tech, excuse me, I'm just stumbling over all my words. There's no technology actually aspect. There's no hands-on, no physical thing I can touch. And every time I go to these professional developments, I think, so there's a tech explosion happening. So our education system is outdated. So what can I do? How can I change? If I cannot change it, then I don't want to participate. I'm going to keep on doing what I've always done. I hate theoretical ideas with no implementation strategy. So I'm going to give you some of the tech that will allow you to create your Classroom 3.0 and start heading down that direction. So the very first one is the interactive lecture. Now, with Classroom 3.0, we need lectures. Lecture students learn from them. The idea that each student is a special snowflake that only learns in one way, hands-on application, visual, audio, is wrong. Students learn in a variety of ways, and even if their weakness is the lecture, they're still going to need to be able to listen to people in the future, so they need that practice. But we need to stop making them stagnant. Our lectures need to be interactive, collaborative, and non-limiting of physical space. Our classes are moving away from that stagnant traditional lectures, and instead we're going to focus on interactive learning with questions and answer sessions, reviews and quizzes, discussions, labs, and other project-based learning built into the lecture. Now the big piece here is to stop limiting interaction to just students who are in front of you and allow a two-way street. So this can mean reversing the traditional classroom in which lectures happen on the class or happen outside the class and homework is done in the class, the flipped classroom model, which we've all heard about countless times. And our lectures can move online and live broadcasts and asynchronous broadcasts, which handle students' need for personalization and class time moves away from PowerPoint and blackboards and whiteboards and instead is devoted to interactive and applied learning, questions and answers, reviews and summaries, quizzes and such. So we're going to move to the interactive lecture. To do that, I use a few different technologies: Open Broadcaster, YouTube Live, and Poll Anywhere, or Poll Everywhere. Open Broadcaster is a software that's free and open source. Software suite for recording and live streaming. It's written in C and C++. Excuse me. Open Broadcaster provides a real-time source and device capture scene composition, encoding, recording, and broadcasting. Now, this transmission of data is done via real-time messaging protocol, RTMP, and it's done through YouTube Live. Now, Open Broadcaster is originally designed for gamers. They wanted to use it so they can live broadcast the games they're playing. You can see here in the picture someone's playing Minecraft and streaming it out. And now, because of this, it has been very, very well developed and is extremely easy to use. And so I really suggest you go check out Open Broadcaster. It works with all the operating systems, and of course, it's directly free. And with Open Broadcaster, the piece that I really use with it is called YouTube Live. If you're using the Google Hangouts Live or Google Hangouts, whatever it was, streaming, that has gone away, and Google Hangouts is on its dying end. They've released statements that they're cutting stuff back and they're getting rid of it, and they're moving away from that Google Plus environment. And so Google Hangouts is actually moved to YouTube Live and allows you to set streams, set times and dates to stream, and broadcast out even with chat features so other people can log in and view your videos. Some of my videos have upwards of 15,000 people, or 15,000 views, which is more views than I've ever had students probably in the history of my teaching. So more people have seen my lectures through YouTube Live than have ever been in one of my classes. I have shared my knowledge with the world. And by giving a chat feature that allows them to broadcast right back and share their knowledge with our classroom, bringing in a whole new level. Now, in addition, one of the things I modify is the Poll Everywhere. Now, I put in at the very beginning of my classroom a attendance because I hate taking attendance. So my students have to physically log in to that, send a text, go to the website, and say, I'm here. And that allows me to get attendance for people that's not even inside the classroom. And so if you're at home and you're watching my lecture while you're babysitting because your kid's sick, or if you're in Africa on a trip but you got Wi-Fi, you can actually log in and participate in my class. Last summer, I had a student who was in Washington, D.C. on a internship. And so she was missing my classwork. By doing YouTube Live, I was able to live broadcast. She was able to join in with the classes and still be connected and not miss any of the information and still have her questions answered. Now, this is the first part of the Classroom 3.0, interactive open border lectures. The second part is becoming hyper-connected, which means we're going to modify a few things. We're going to do digital office hours, we're going to use social media in management systems, and we're going to use open spaces that people are free to come in and out of. Now, to do this, the very first software I use, our website, is called Peer.in. Now, it's not a peerin.com. The .in is the domain. So it requires no installation, no login required, no sign up required. It's completely free, and you can connect to up to 8 people at a time. So when I'm doing my office hours, I actually turn on a Peer.in in a side window. My video is broadcasting, and any student that can come into my office, and if they can't physically come into my office, they can go to my Peer.in website, log in, and have a live face-to-face conversation with me instantly, without software, without logins, without downloads. It is unrestrictive, and it's completely free. And because I'm never going to have more than 8 people at a time doing office hours, if 1 or 2 students come in, they can filter out as they need. I answer questions, they come in and go. It really makes my office hours very helpful. Now, to my administration, this does not mean I'm not holding regular office hours. I am always in my office. I spend a tremendous amount of time here. It's where my equipment is. But why I'm physically in my office holding office hours, I also live broadcast, so my students don't have to make that trip. That is a hyper-connective. I also use a HootSuite management system. Now, this is a social media manager because one of the things I really hate is taking tremendous amounts of time to do postings and Twitter postings and connecting and answering questions and logging into 16 different websites. So what I use is one website that manages all of my social media accounts in one place, including my messages in my live broadcast. It includes sending out videos from my classroom. HootSuite is a magical, amazing classroom management tool and social media manager. I strongly suggest you check it out. I did teach about this last year. You can check out my Stayonference presentation from 2015, and it walks you through how to use HootSuite a little bit better. Now, in addition to these, I also use Hangouts. Google Hangouts is a great way to connect and collaborate with all your classmates or classrooms. It has a powerful tool for making connections, allows you to work collaboratively, and introduces the wider world to your students. Many educators have embraced Hangouts to enrich both their students' learning experience and their own professional development. Now, you can connect students with the peers from around the country or even from abroad in here, and it works across platforms, including mobile and desktop. So again, we're looking at things that work on all your devices, desktop, laptops, tablets, phones, whatever you're using, we're really going to use. Hangouts really allows you to rethink maybe student presentations, work on projects together, your students work on projects together. You can invite guest speakers to speak to your class, even if they can't physically come, and you can even go on virtual field trips with it. Hangouts is a very, very nice piece that works very well in conjunction with YouTube Live and the other software suites. So to do this, I do a couple of learnings in real time. I use Poll Everywhere to do my attendance, as you saw at the beginning of class. I have open digital content, which is in my OneDrive. So in this class, what you saw, I'm going to go back one screen here. I have things I call snackables in the top right-hand corner. And all information, videos I've created, all of that information is free and open to my students at any given time. I load it all onto a OneDrive, including my presentation, with my instructor notes, my handouts. Anything I have, my students have complete access to. So depending on how they can learn by watching the presentation, learn by looking at the PowerPoints, learn by looking at the handouts, learn by doing the hands-on. They have any manner that they want to learn, they can learn, and they can mix and match as they choose. Because the end process is for them to complete the goal, not so much for them to complete all of the material. Now, so I'm missing a piece here. So that was Classroom 3.0. If you go into the OneDrive account, you can see the handouts. You'll be able to see the handout and get all the links to everything. Again, my name's Logan Phillips. Your OneDrive account is here linked. You can follow this address and get into all the files, all the snackables, all the pieces of information, instructional videos for each piece of the software if you'd like to go a little bit deeper. And of course, you can join me on any of my social medias. And if you have any questions, comments, or need me to train you or want more information about any of the software suites I use, please let me know and I will gladly record a video, teach you whatever I have, and give you the knowledge that I have, and it completely openly, freely, and happily. All right, guys, I hope you had a good lesson here. I hope you learned at least a few things, a few pieces of information, or at least a new software suite or two. I'm Logan Phillips. I hope you have a very fruitful day. Bye, guys.